Did you hear about the diva with depression? No. What happened? Did they murder her? No. She suffocated from the weight of black bodies falling on top of her.
Sometimes realize there's no way.
You have tuned into Breaking the Mask of Depression with your host, Diva with Depression.
Welcome to Breaking the Mask of Depression with me, your host, the Diva with Depression. How are you guys doing? I hope that you are doing well in spite of, and I say in spite of because I know that there is so much going on in the world right now, and it's taken a toll on our mental health. And so I really want to know, how are you doing? I don't think that when we ask that question, we really take the time to ask it and listen to the answer. So how are you doing, my friends? 282 blacks were killed by cops in 2023 alone. 6 black women have been killed by police in 2024 alone. Could you believe that? Blacks are 6 times more likely to be killed by police officers than any other ethnicity. We've seen Michael Brown, George Floyd, Eric Gardner. We've seen it, and we have to continue to relive these things over and over and over again. And that how do you do that? Like, how do you protect your mental health when you are hunted on a daily basis? We fear police officers because we've seen for hundreds and hundreds of years that we are nothing to them. And they want to pretend that there's no racism in these police departments, but where do you think the Klan members were working? Where do you think that people that are racist, where do you think they're working? They're in our police departments, they're in our schools, they're in our courts. There's a case now that there was a judge, and she said that she was going to shoot the nigger kids at a party. She's still sitting on the bench. And how many black people has she put in prison based on her racism? So this is a massive epidemic. We know it as black people, as black and brown people. We know that it's an epidemic. We know that it's a health crisis, but I don't think that people truly understand how deep it goes. Now, we hear about black men and police brutality a lot. And I'm not going to say that black women get lost in the sauce, but we do sort of get lost in the sauce. If it's not a case that is publicized, like maybe Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, if it's not publicized, then we don't really stay on it too long. But black women and girls are more likely than any other group of women to be killed by the police. Black women make up 10% of the population, yet they account for 1/5 of all women killed by the police, and almost 1/3 of unarmed women killed by the police. Now, that's a Google fact. What do we do with that? How do we protect ourselves physically and mentally? You ever watch like National Geographic and you see a deer, for example, walking and running, and then you see a lion, prey, pouncing, getting ready to pounce and stalking. And the deer, when the deer is aware that they're being hunted, then it's just a whole, the nerves and the fight or flight, you know, um, re- reaction takes in, and then you watch to see this deer become prey. And that's sort of how we live our lives as black and brown people. I've never been, in trouble with the law, but if I'm driving and the police are behind me, I'm I'm putting my hands at, what is it, 5 and 10 or something like that, and turning the radio down and making sure that everything is okay. Because and I don't have a record or anything. Like, I've never been in trouble with the law other than one speeding ticket. But this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't have to be doing anything for the fear to be there that something could happen. And I'm going to try not to get choked up. It's it is too much. It is absolutely too much. And 469 people were shot as of 2024. 98 of them were black. In 2023 alone, there were 1,163 fatal police shootings. And of course, 6.1%. That's us. Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Eleanor Bumpurs, Atiana Jefferson. These are just a few names of our queens whose lives were taken by police officers. And we recently, on July 6th, Sonia Massey called 911 because she thought that there was an intruder in her house. 2 deputies show up. They look around. Nothing. They said that they didn't see anything. And for some reason, they follow her into the house and tell her that she has to get ID. Now, why do you need ID when it's your house? Okay. So you hear, if you they released the video footage, and so you hear them talking. Well, you hear the one that slaughtered her talking, and his whole tone is disgusting, very unprofessional. Fuck this and blah blah blah, and you barely hear her because she's so soft spoken. And the other deputy just looks around and seems like is ready to go. So this murderer tells her to go turn off the stove and take the pot off the stove so it doesn't cause a fire. So she goes over to the stove to take the pot of water off, and then he tells her put it down. And he starts backing away from her like she is going to throw it on him. And it, like, where does... And she asked him, why are you backing up? Like, she's clueless. Like, she called these people because she trusted them. And she's absolutely lost about what the fuck is going on. And so she's asking him, why are you backing up? And he's like, well, thinking that, you could throw that water on me and all of this stuff. And she's like, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And you could tell from her tone, again, there wasn't anything threatening or menacing. She said it. She was just casually, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Meaning she's not throwing it at him. And as soon as she says that, he says, "You better fucking not, or I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you in your fucking face." She says, "I'm sorry," and ducks, and he shot her multiple times and killed her. Miss Massey was only 36 years old. 36 years old. That's only a couple of years older than my oldest child. She had 2 children and a host of family and friends. And everybody that you see being interviewed says that she was just a wonderful person. Just very jovial and kind, and she's gone. She's gone. And where do we go from here? We're going to say thoughts and prayers. Ben Crump is going to sue. And then in a couple of months, we'll be moving on to something else. Or we'll be moving on to another police shooting in our black and brown communities. All she said was, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And I'm sorry." And after that, her life is taken. And the partner tries to give her medical attention. And this murderer says, "Nah, she's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot." And then when he gets outside, and you can see in the camera footage that the other police officers are looking like, what the fuck just happened? Like, what the fuck is going on? They're looking at him like, and he's got the nerve to say, "Yeah, I'm good. This fucking bitch is crazy." You just slaughtered her. And she's crazy? She's crazy? And when they first got there, and they're talking to her, and they say, "Is she doing okay mentally?" And she says, "Yes, I took my medicine." So that means that they possibly knew who she was. Like, if you know that she has mental health issues, then that means that you are aware of who she is. And you still took her life and wouldn't even let them help her. You took her life and then stood there and watched her die without allowing anyone to help her. What kind of piece of shit are you? Now, there's, talk going around about her being mentally ill. So fucking what? I'm mentally ill. That does not mean that I deserve to be slaughtered in my own home or slaughtered anywhere because I'm mentally ill. Nobody should be murdered, but nobody should be murdered because they have a mental health issue. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And she's gone. So now begins the after effects of yet another public assassination that we have to watch. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the other morning after the footage came out, my child called hysterical crying because she clicked on the video by accident. And she was, hysterical. She couldn't even breathe. How do you live with that? Like, how do you hold that? how do we move on? Because this isn't just simple post-traumatic stress disorder. Because, like, this is everyday trauma. Like, we're victims every day. We're in a constant state of PTSD. We're in a constant state of fear, constant state of fight or flight. And they keep doing it. And this man, it says that he's been with 6 different police officers, was discharged from the army because of an incident, and he was still working. A drinking problem, DUIs. Like, why did this man still have his job? Since 2005, 98 law enforcement officers have been arrested in connection with fatal shootings. Only 35 have been convicted of a crime, often a lesser offense. So, like, that's like manslaughter or negligent homicide, but not murder. And only 3 have been convicted of murder during this period and seen a prison. 22 were acquitted in a jury trial, and 9 were acquitted during a bench trial decided by a judge. In many cases, the judge and the prosecutor is the one that threw the case out. So they're committing murder and they're getting away with it. And there's talk about, by politicians, about giving police immunity. So that means that if that was put into effect, that this man would have went home and had a cup of tea while Sonia Massey's family is coming to terms with the fact that she is gone. That her 17-year-old and 15-year-old are coming to grips with the fact that their mom is gone while he's home having a cup of tea. So I am not going to keep talking about it tonight because I haven't processed really what happened. I couldn't believe what I was watching, and I don't know why I couldn't believe it, but I just couldn't believe that this was happening. And so I haven't processed it fully, but I wanted to share that there's nothing wrong with doing whatever it takes to protect your peace. Because we're not in a post-racist society. We have to deal with this every single day. In 2018, a study found that Black people experience days of poor mental health over a 3-month period after a police killing of an unarmed Black person in their state. So that means, like, this is July, August, September, maybe October. We're going to be carrying this until October for Sonia Massey. What about if something else happens? Another one of us is taken by a cop. Then that's 3 more months. So racism is every day. So this is our PTSD. This is what we have to live with. And it's not pretty. And I don't know, what are we going to do? Being mentally ill is stressful enough. Being Black is stressful enough. Being both is like a death sentence in some cases. Elijah McCain, like, he was doing nothing. And then we have to watch the replays of these videos. We can't get over it because it's everywhere. If you log on to social media, it's there. If you turn on the news, it's there. If you read the news online, it's there. It's everywhere. We are subjected to it. And even if we're not seeing the actual footage, we're still reading about it. We're still hearing about it. We still have to contend with the racists online that are saying horrible things about her and saying that it's her fault that she's not here anymore and that he's a hero for taking another one of us out. This is what we have to deal with every single day. Racial battle fatigue. That's what a professor of ethnic studies calls it. Racial battle fatigue. And this describes how these continued acts can lead to anxiety, stress, and health issues. Systemic race-related repetitive stress injury. Trauma doesn't leave you. And I can tell you as someone that is living with PTSD that it doesn't leave you. Ever. You learn how to cope with it, but it doesn't leave you. And it's just soul crushing. That's what I told my girlfriend. It's soul crushing. And it just takes the wind out of you. And she was a beautiful woman. Absolutely beautiful. Children, parents, like, make it make sense, because it doesn't fucking make sense. And there's nowhere for us to turn. You know, we don't have culturally competent psychological care, so that means that if we decide to get help, we probably won't get a black psychologist or psychiatrist. So what happens? We're with someone that doesn't understand fully what we're going through. Medical racism exists, so even if we went to a psychiatrist, then who's to say that they're going to care, that they're going to listen, and they're going to prescribe the correct treatment? There needs to be a program put in place to help with the after effects. And I know that on Instagram there is a black women's group, and today they were holding space for Miss Massey, and there are candlelight vigils. I believe there was a candlelight vigil in Charlotte. So of course, but we keep doing this. We keep holding space. We keep lighting candles. We keep praying, and nothing ever happens. It just continues to go on. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of it. I'm over it. So do what you have to do to protect your mental health. Now, I say if it's possible, go off social media. If it's possible, don't read the news or watch the news. But I know that that's very hard for some people, especially people that their businesses and platforms, like they have to be on social media on one of the platforms throughout the day, during the day. So it's not always possible. Maybe filter your feed so it doesn't come up. You know, you can do temporary filters. You can mute some people. But find out how you can adjust your social media so it doesn't continue to just beat into your brain about what's going on. Because we already have political issues going on. We've got COVID numbers rising. We've got inflation. People can't afford to buy food. The homeless population is astronomically high, and now in some states it's a crime. Like they're ripping down their tents and they're putting them in jail for being homeless. But nobody is lowering rents. Nobody is raising salaries so that we can live. So all of this my friends, in addition to now the loss of Queen Massey. And so I say that we will, as a people, hold space for her. We will hold space for her family. We will pray that the ancestors greet her and that she is going to be at peace eventually. I truly believe, and this is just my opinion, she knew what walked through her door. She knew. Because it was just so odd that that's what she would say. She knew that there was an animal in her house, that there was a horrible spirit in her house. So, hold space for her, hold space for us as a people, but put your mental health first, please. And if you need any resources, if you need assistance, of course, you can message me on social media. You can email me, go on my website, divawithdepression.com, and send me a message. I will help as much as I can, but please, 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 people, do what you need to do to cushion your soul and to find a little bit of peace in the midst of the craziness. Take care, everybody.